Chainsaw Man is like a roller coaster. There's so many ups and downs, game-changing plot twists, 10 out of 10 anime girls who manipulate me like my ex-girlfriend did. Wow, that got weirdly personal very fast, but I digress. The point is, this story is absolutely insane, and everyone who's caught up to the series, including myself, needs extensive therapy for the Goku-level trauma that we've been experiencing these past few weeks. But this amazing, volatile, constantly changing manga is shaped by our protagonist Denji, whose bizarre adventures drag him across the map of happiness and despair. And yes, that was a JoJo's reference, where the ideals he has for himself and hopes for the future are twisted beyond belief, and in tandem, he is greatly distorted in the process. Denji starts his story at the lowest point that he can get, and the current arc he somehow managed to sink into even deeper despair. Nice job, Fujimoto, you really amped it up with the pain and suffering. But each milestone in Denji's character journey expresses these major changes in the narrative, inevitably dictating the direction our protagonist will take towards his objectives. The first act is the public safety life, where Denji exists as a pet and a weapon for Makima and the devil extermination sector, where Denji confronts both his devil side and his human side. The second act is the normal life, where Denji is just trying to live in peace with his family and experience all the facets of humanity that he was deprived from in his upbringing. But this act is quite significant because of Denji's internal struggle and wish to become Chainsaw Man. And this leads to the third and final act of the Chainsaw Man story, which is the devil life, where Denji ultimately chooses to reject his humanity, embrace his demon side, and join the devil race just like Nayuta suggested him to do so. These three respective acts tell Denji's tale as Chainsaw Man, and in this video, we will be explaining and analyzing each part, and at the end come to a conclusion to what it all means. Now, prior to joining public safety, Denji's outlook on life is in the mental gutter. He's about as low as you can get. He's living in poverty. His house is a broken down shack. He's carrying on his father's debts, so any money he makes constantly goes out the window, and the greatest meal that he can hope to eat is a slice of bread. It's not too good, but hey, it could still be worse. He's got his devil buddy Vegeta, so other than having dealings with the Yakuza, it's not awful. That is until they betray him in accordance with their contract with the zombie devil. That was no bueno. Now this instance allows Denji to transition into the next stage in his life. He makes a contract with Vegeta on the verge of death. He becomes Chainsaw Man. And with Makima's clear interest in him, he's able to join public safety. The premise of this arc is meant to shine a spotlight on Denji's changing humanity, as he starts off under pretty inhumane conditions, and gradually evolving into a pet, pretty much on the same level that power is considered. Power is intended to reflect Denji's character and his subservience under Makima's control, as they're both working under the guise of their pet complexes, representing a cat and dog respectively. They both have their goals and aspirations that Makima hands out as if they're dog treats, or in Power's case, catnip I guess. But the main point is that even though Denji's living standards and basic needs have been met, he's got a day job, a place that he can call home, where he can have good meals and a solid night's rest, including ample affection from his owner. But despite all these great things, Denji is still unsatisfied with his life. Denji plays it off by giving himself service level objectives that he can aim for. You know, getting his first kiss, pleasing Makima, and well, dude said it himself.
I really want to touch her boobs.
But effectively, Denji's growth in this arc comes from distinguishing his priorities, defining what truly matters and what doesn't. And now, what's interesting is that while all this crazy stuff is going on, there's another story being told in Chainsaw Man that cements the themes and philosophy for the public safety arc, with the tale of the country mouse and the city mouse from Aesop's fables. The country mouse lives in seclusion. They get a peaceful life but never get to experience the wonders of the city. In contrast, the city mouse gets those wonderful experiences and the greatest food that they can desire. But the caveat of this idealistic life is that they're constantly on guard of the dangers that lurk around every corner. And this is the way of life that Denji inevitably chooses. He makes meaningful connections, enjoys his modest yet chaotic day-to-day, and finds happiness in the most insignificant moments. Denji learns to embrace his freedom and regulate his own internal controls and desires that separate from his urges of Makima's authority. He experiences the luxuries he was deprived of, but in turn, he faces conflict and suffering that edges into his subconscious. So eventually, it doesn't take long for everything to hit the fan. The girl of his dreams, Makima, betrays him in more ways than one, inflicting him with intense trauma, casting Denji into a catatonic state. Vegeta is forced to envelop Denji as a defense mechanism. He fights back, but all hell breaks loose, and these setbacks bring Denji down this rabbit hole, and to a point where he almost gives up on everything, accepting his demise and accepting his futility. Denji lies to himself, saying that he's content that he made it this far and lived far more than he did in his previous life, lamenting that what's the point of going further when there's nothing good at the end. But when he's at such a low point, power gives him the will to stand up and fight, literally breathing life back into Denji. He's able to overcome his despair and Makima, and break through the struggle and come out on top at the end. Kishibe places the Reborn Control Devil, ergo Nayuta, under Denji's supervision. Vegeta thanks Denji for showing him his dreams and encourages him to live life to his fullest. So with the conclusion of this part, with Denji beginning to attend high school while also fighting devils as a vigilante, we enter the normal life of Chainsaw Man, where slowly but surely, everything flies off the rails in the most abnormal ways possible. The normal life arc is very different from Public Safety. Although Denji is still our main guy as Chainsaw Man, the initial outlook is through the perspective of Asamitaka, used as the third-party reference to showcase the influence Denji has had during this time period, where he's your average high school student during the day and Chainsaw Man at night. Now, the major theme for Denji in this act is his quest for identity. Having an extremely chaotic past and never having to think for himself and make his own decisions, Denji doesn't even know who he is as a person. So his best course of action was simply to just comply with the social norms while he goes about his business and adjusts and adapts to his everyday lifestyle. But that one thing that he desires above all else is the recognition of being Chainsaw Man, to have the spotlight on him so he can amass female attention, following the high school DxD method and accrue a harem like the local legend Issei Hyodo. But looking past all that stuff, there's a real reason why Denji wants to be Chainsaw Man. It's because being this hero gave him purpose, his evaluation of his self-worth. In Public Safety and under Makima's observations, all Denji was to them was Chainsaw Man, not Denji. So of course his perspective is going to be jaded, since it's really the only thing that he knows and understands. Like sure, he can go to school, work hard so he can set up a proper life for Nayuta so she doesn't have to struggle like he did. But at the end of the day, Denji doesn't know how to truly bless and fulfill himself. Denji doesn't know if he's happy or unhappy. He maintains this constant deadpan expression as if he's going through the motions. Living his normal life is more of a process than an experience. So maybe this ideal of Chainsaw Man isn't his true purpose. It's more of a delusion, a distraction to convince Denji that once he gets that recognition and glory, he will finally be happy. Even though he has Nayuta and his dogs, I think deep down what Denji was truly missing was a person that he could relate to, because that's how power and Aki fulfilled him. And that's where Asa takes her role as that missing piece, as a reminder of Denji's past, but also maintaining those missing levels of physical and emotional intimacy, even though it's pretty distorted. Regardless of this being the normal life of Denji, there's several abnormal circumstances taking place behind the scenes. You got Public Safety, who's insistent on keeping Denji in his place, while in contrast, you got the Chainsaw Man Church, who views Denji as their savior. You have all these people and organizations wanting and desiring many things from Denji, each one restricting his freedoms in certain ways, and this is the focal point of his identity complex. Is he Denji or Chainsaw Man? Human or devil? Hero or villain? He just doesn't know. And now, similar to Public Safety, Denji's free will is kind of up in the air. With so many influences around him and getting toyed by his shallow motives, the events and cycles repeat in the normal Chainsaw Man chaotic fashion. A significant moment that is often forgotten in the wind is the fact that Vegeta speaks through Denji, and he congratulates him for accomplishing his dreams and doing his best to live his best life. Which, if you objectively look at this past arc in his life, the time he spent with Nayuta, going to school, going on dates, and just being a regular guy in general, even though he isn't completely fulfilled, he still accomplished a lot. But Vegeta questions Denji. What will he dream of next? What does Denji truly want? And that's where he makes his decision. And despite everything, he wants to be Chainsaw Man. Tragically, it's that dream that ends up becoming his greatest nightmare. Once Denji hourly makes this decision to become this hero in his mind, that's when everything goes downhill. His house is burnt down, his dogs are dead, Nayuta is taken, and that's the best of things that happen to her. He gets chopped up like Pirate King Buggy, and then he gets physically used by his girl counterpart, To put it simply, it doesn't look good. Now, the reason why Denji wants to be Chainsaw Man has never changed. He desires that lust and affection. That's what's constantly driving him. But when he finally gets that reward, the outcome that he always wanted, it was nothing like he ever hoped for. It didn't change him for the better. He was just as broken, if not more broken than before. And after witnessing what Barem did to Nayuta, Denji rejects his humanity. He's consumed by his rage, and he's back to square one as the Chainsaw Devil. Now, seeing this twice at the high points of each respective parts leads me to believe that this form is the final direction that Fujimoto was paving for Denji all along. If you have ever read Fire Punch, you would know that Fujimoto's not a stranger for making the hero become the villain, and this is ultimately the path that Denji is destined to walk. And that's why the third and final act is the double life. Now, this is more of a speculative future for where I see Chainsaw Man heading, but there is a lot of evidence to support this as the final part. First of all, we have Power's request for Denji to search for the Blood Devil, cause as we know, devils go through their reincarnation cycles, and so Power's last wish was to find her again so they can reunite and be friends. And if Power's return does come to pass, it's likely we will see a return of even more devilish characters that we lost along the way. The second reason is because of Nayuta's blatant suggestion to join the devil race, and to be honest, humanity has been pretty awful to Denji, so changing sides is justified. And the third and final reason for this devil life is because of the Death Devil. The Death Devil is fated to bring about the apocalypse, ending humanity and ushering in the Age of Devils. So Fami's faction is insistent on bringing down that possible future because of the carnage that will inevitably follow, which is why they need the Chainsaw Devil to combat against that revolution. And it's all for the sake of pizza too. Fami got her priorities in order. Now, I still think that with his current state in the balance, Denji will still fight against death and actually supporting Fami's factions who are antagonizing this insurrection. Chainsaw Man is the hero of hell, and if death is bringing hell on earth, then he will become the hero of the world. Plenty of devils could be aiming for coexistence, and while Denji was severely mistreated by humanity, Chainsaw Man is still a narrative that brings the philosophical question of what it means to be human to the forefront. So while the devil life could fully consume Denji, the final answer of who he is as a person is ultimately up to him. Up to this point, a lot of decisions that Denji has made have never really been his. Even during his normal life, he was never actually free, he was tied down to his responsibilities. So this part will extrapolate on Denji's free will, him being able to express his freedom and the consequences that come from doing whatever the hell he wants. But in essence, that's the story of Chainsaw Man. It's a story of suffering, dealing with your devils and demons, and Denji is our lens into this universe. The three acts of Chainsaw Man tell the tale of Denji, the chronicles of anarchy and triumph, victory and loss, love and hate, and strangely enough, it's those elements that define humanity.